Hello and welcome to another episode of Find Your Feel Good for Female Entrepreneurs with me, Keighley. And this is actually a late night edition. We are recording in the evening, and that is kids in bed. We've got a fellow parent of three, and I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so happy to introduce to you Pete Longton, and he. Sorry about this. And we're here to chat about, well, fire in the belly. I can't wait to chat about this. I just love the name to start with. We're going to chat about living with that passion, with that purpose. But first of all, let me say hi, first of all. So hi, how are you, Pete?
Awesome. I'm doing mighty well. Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, it just sounds, I can't wait to chat about this. Sounds something completely different. The Fire in the Belly as an actual brand itself. I'm all about the brand. But let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's learn more about it. And something I always start with, because I just find stories fascinating. And let's have a little bit of an insight of where you were to where you are now, that journey, and how you got to this fire in the belly.
Oh, wow. Where do you start? Um, the bit that led to the sort of pivot in my life, that's the pivot word coming in already, but pivot in my life, 2 a.m., 23rd of December, 2017. It was 2016. Sorry.
Yeah.
2 a.m., sitting on the side of my bed and massive toothache and screaming child and
Ooh.
end of depression and sleep deprivation and everything else.
Wow.
Fast forward 24 hours, that tooth was pulled out,
Oh.
and that was the bottom, if you like. That was a particularly hard spot in my life, but I live by a bit of an expression that says, "From great overwhelm comes great change."
Was that?
And that's, I think, from a lot of people, when you get to that point of great overwhelm, uh, when you can look back now and you go, listen, there's always a lesson. When you can see that, that's when it goes through. So fast forward then, Fire in the Belly was born as such on the 24th of February last year, so 2019.
Wow.
And yeah, it started off, it was going to be a book. And then I discovered I was dyslexic and ADHD. So it was kind of going, okay, I need to rethink this a wee bit. And then I thought, right, I'll start off with a kid's book and I'll get a book coach and one thing and another. And then fast forward, I just started asking people what Fire in the Belly meant to them. And next thing you know, I'm having 2, 3, 4 hour conversations with people. And I'm kind of going, okay, how do I edit this into a kid's book? Uh,
Ah.
and that's when the format of podcasting kind of fell in my lap, to be quite honest.
Ah.
And yeah, fast forward, we've 200 and something odd episodes done, and I get the most spectacular, unbelievable conversations with people all around the world. So that's a
Wow.
very whistle stop tour of yeah.
How
So
it was born.
how I was born, yeah.
That
Bit
is,
random.
yeah, that's quite the story, actually. That's something I haven't heard before, where it's meant to be a children's book and it's ended up into this something completely different.
Hmm.
But I mean, what was it? So when it was a children's book, where was the idea from that? Because I just love to kind of get real insight into where that came from.
Sure. Well, I mean, the actual Fire in the Belly, I mean, like I say, for me, that was a point of there's a lot of change going on in my life. And I had realized very quickly, and listen, it wasn't for lack. So I was 37 and a half. That was my sort of pivoting age, if you like.
Mhm.
And I was just at the point of going, I couldn't work any harder. In fact, you know yourself, when you've got kids and all the rest, you need to work less, not more.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and you're sitting here and we're at the tail end of shutting down a business. And it's just, do you ever feel like it's like, I describe it's like driving around in a lovely Range Rover or Tesla or whatever, but driving around with the handbrake on. It's just like, no
Mm,
matter what you do, you just can't get momentum. And you kind of going, I kind of feel like I'm capable of more, but I just can't. Everything is just sluggish and hard work.
yeah.
And that's kind of where I was at. So anyway, I sort of, that's when I started looking and scratching my head and going, my formula is wrong. I
Mm,
can't work anymore. I need to work less. I need, sort of, I want to be earning more, doing more, having more. But yet my formula that I was, sort of, hard work pays off and all the rest had come to an
mm,
end. And that's kind of where I literally was pushing my twins up the road. Was taking some time out and time on my hands. And yeah, let's just walk up the road and going, it's what makes one person jump out of bed and want to take on the world, and then the next person jumps out of bed and turns on the TV. It's like
mm.
what's the difference? What we're all born naked and screaming. We're all we all go out the same way, and you're kind of going, what, how does it change?
Yeah.
Where does it go? And that kind of, and I just started spinning the words in my head, and I wasn't, I say I wasn't looking for it. I mean, it just sort of came, and it was kind of going, people talk about, I had gut instinct for this, and, I had like a fire in the belly, and I had a passion, and I had a burning desire, and then I had a fire in the belly, and the
It kept
name
coming
just
back.
kept, yeah, it just kept coming back to me. I was going, oh, that's kind of a cool, and this, and then
Mm,
it just sort of caught a wee bit, and then just
yeah.
started chatting to people, and I thought, fire in the belly, and it's kind of a universal term. A lot of people around the world have heard it, and
Yeah.
people just kind of get it, but it means slightly different things to different people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I literally so kind of thought, right, okay, it'd be kind of cool to collate stories, because where I was at in my life, I thought, right, well, my I wasn't clear enough my own story, so I thought what I'll do is I'll chat to other people.
Hmm.
And the first conversation I had with my brother-in-law was like literally 2.5 hours, and we sort of had to be the
Wow.
conversation had to be stopped because we were
Yeah.
picking up kids and doing all sorts. But we then sort of continued the conversation, and it literally was hours, and it was so cathartic, and he really enjoyed the process, and I enjoyed the process, and it's kind of go, right, okay, that's a good start.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're on something.
yeah,
That,
and just, I was looking for patterns. I was looking for things like that, and that's just what started happening, having deep, deep conversations with people. I was looking for that, it's like, well, if I could spot it in 3 or 4 people, then we could pull it into, originally it was going to be a book. And like I say, then with the dyslexia and one thing and another, we thought, right, we'll simplify it down to a kid's book.
yeah.
And yeah, and that's kind of where we went to. And then we literally had sort of illustrators on board and all sorts. And then, like I say, I was looking to simplify my life anyway at that time, and I ended up. I'm a property investor by trade. That's my background,
Yeah.
and the property investment company, or the property training company I work with, they had a podcast course, and I
Ah.
I actually don't know how it was over in England, so I had actually gone there a day early because of flights and one thing and another. Found myself sitting in the room. I was kind of going, yeah, well, I have a bit of time to kill, so just sit in this room. Within 20 minutes, I had the credit card out. I knew I knew this was actually the vehicle for me. I didn't know how much it was going to
Ah.
hurt, but
Yeah.
yeah, but that's kind of how it came about. It was like it's the perfect vehicle for, you know, I mean, I get to have conversations, 2 hour
Yeah.
conversations with people, and then I thought it's a bit almost disrespectful to take like a 5 minute segment and then slot it into book and then chuck the rest on the floor. If you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
looking for a medium that I could actually represent the whole story, because it's all well and good turning out and going, and then I won the gold medal, and you're kind
Yeah.
of going, yeah, but what about all the failed attempts, all
Before
the,
it.
the highs, the lows, the journey, the lessons, the insights, and all the rest, and what does it mean? Because
Yeah.
otherwise people go, yeah, yeah, she's just lucky. It's like, okay, you want to talk
Mm.
about luck? I'll tell you my journey, and to tell you the pain I've gone
Yes.
through and why I deserve it. So I
Yeah.
thought I can't chop it all up and leave the rest sitting there,
No.
and that's where the podcast. And now it's like step one of 13 for me, and it's a beautiful medium to talk to people, and it's been amazing, really,
It,
really.
yeah.
So
It
really
re-
long answer to your question, but yeah.
I love long answers because I'm the same as you. I sort of dipped my toe into podcasting. I launched this podcast in February, and then I did pivot. We just chatted about this before, and I say this in every episode that I lost these 10 episodes. Not that I'm bitter at all, but yeah, it did change things for me. I pivoted, but it was the perfect medium for me to start having these conversations. That it was for me. It was about getting open up conversations about similar to you. It's find your feel good, very similar, isn't it? It's not just, it is finding purpose and passion, but it's going that little bit deeper. And I think you do have to have the conversations. I don't think it can just be a quick fix.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, and I love that, find you feel good, because do you know what? There's so much going on in life, and I mean, I don't watch TV, I don't watch radio. There's, and that's a journey I've been on too, in terms of my own
Oh, I
sort of,
love that.
development, what's going on, and I'm now, you know, I kind of realized that I had to sort of focus on me for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I think you got to fill your own cup before you start trying to fill others, or
Yeah.
taking from others. And that's something there, it's so so true. So but sitting talking, and I've even noticed myself in the last, probably even, I mean, every month there's big shifts. So I would be I have a reading group every morning at 5:15. We would be
Wow.
talking to people, and I'm talking like successful people. Sort of, we would do sometimes 4 or 5 recordings a day.
Ooh.
And it's amazing because after a while, it's suddenly going. All I hear is about success, success. And it's just constant. And the readings that we would read, sort of fairly, well-known books, from everything from, your Think and Grow Riches and, psycho-cybernetics and all that. So I'm just finding this immersion, it's just
Yeah.
after a while, you kind of going, I'm looking at the universe different.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's really, really changed because if I hadn't, rewinding back even further, I had 10 years in London nearly, and I sort
Mm.
of said another year or two in there and I would have come out in a straitjacket. I genuinely believe that. It
Really?
was
How
enough of a burnout for me.
it was that bad?
Yeah. Sort of, I loved it. I wouldn't change it for the world, and I wouldn't go back for the world. So
Mm.
can't go back. I didn't respect myself. I burnt the candle at both ends and in the middle,
Yeah.
and it was great. I achieved a lot. I did a lot, and I did some pretty amazing things. But you pay the price, and I was paying the
Yeah.
price.
And that's led you probably ultimately long term to here. I think you just get to that point, don't you? I'm very much, I say a little bit woo, but that's been a thing this year where I really do listen to the universe. And I do believe that we go through these things that, that's the right thing for you at that time, but you know when to move on. But let's chat about that because you're from you're from project management and property, you say quite a corporate background.
Mm.
So, that is quite cutthroat, isn't it, really, probably from your time back in London as well. So for you to kind of have these conversations and explore them, how much does that change you? How much have you changed? Because I love this whole idea of a process. It's not overnight. It takes time. So yeah, let's chat about that.
Yeah, the process. For me, getting my tooth yanked out was my sort of, that
Mm,
was my point, and I find that's the common thing with a lot of people. There is a point of just going. There's
something.
there's no more elasticity. You can't just sort of go to that point and sort of bounce back. You
Mm,
just go, it's just too far. It's just too
yeah.
much. And like I say, that for me was my low point. And I think like anyone, you have to, you go to that point. At the time it was interesting, again, losing the business, but unusually I had, I've been investing in property now. This is my 21st year,
Whoa.
and property does amazing things when you do that. That was always my side hobby. But it's kind of like trying to ignore the elephant in the corner. I saw it as a bit of a pain in the backside, but property prices do some pretty nice things over 20 years. Yes, recessions
Yeah.
come and go and things like that, but generally they sort of do well. And I was lucky enough. I say lucky, but I worked hard, and it was a lot. I sacrificed a lot through my 20s and 30s, to build that and build the, multiple streams of income. But I came to the point, and it was that sort of, and I now call it my midlife opportunity.
Mm,
And, that sort of whole thing of going, you have a kid. Well, we had one, I think the twins were due but hadn't arrived, and,
mm,
losing the business. And I'm sitting here going, what's my worth? And I talk about,
mm,
mind your gap, because your gap for me now is, and I recognize it in so many others, it's the gap between the true you and who you are
mm.
today.
Yes.
And that's, I was so far off myself, and that's why, you see it in a lot of people, that they're just, it's kind of, you're so far away from your true self that you have no idea what, people go, well, what do you really want? And I don't know. And they generally
Mm,
don't know. And
yeah.
that was me. I was going, well, what do you want to do? It's like, I don't know. And it's like, you get annoyed because people are going,
Yeah.
surely you must know what your passion is. No, I don't know. Now leave me alone.
Yeah. Let me
And
find it.
yeah, and that's the thing. And but now it's like, it was that sort of midlife opportunity. It's like somebody was just wiping, clearing the whiteboard and going, listen,
Yeah.
we need to clear the decks. We need to just pause everything right now.
I love that.
And it's just going through, and it's whether that happens voluntarily or forced.
Mm,
You see some people, they break down, some people have a crisis, some people just lose the plot, stick up a for sale sign and move to Siberia,
yeah.
whatever works for you. But
There's a
you
breaking
do,
point, isn't there?
there's a breaking point, and I think for some it's 35, for some it's 45, but for me it was 37 and a half, and it was just that thing of it's different. I think for me it was almost like a midpoint in my life, and kind of
Mm,
going, and you know my sort of things that have happened in my life are fairly minor,
mm,
but you sort of go, well, okay, I've achieved this much in my life and I've done well, listen, and And it's not to say I haven't, but it's kind of going, it's not necessarily what I wanted to do. It's a bit like the
Yeah.
ikigai process, it's just because I'm good at it doesn't mean it's my passion.
Mm.
And, that's when I sort of said, right, I'm at 37 and a half here. More or less, if you flip that the other way, that's the rest of my life done. I'm at the midpoint in my life,
Wow.
statistically. And I kind of going, yeah, I could kind of track where I'm going. It's like, how do I feel about that? It's like a bit like, is that
Mm.
it? You know? And
Yeah.
just a number of
Wow.
things at that point. I said, well, what if I just started, I could map out where I could be. So
Mm.
everything thereafter was a bonus. So I'm going, well, what if we just keep saying yes? See what happens,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
I love
So
that. Yeah.
it's a bit random, but I had zero intention of setting up a podcast. I had zero intention of doing a lot of things, but yeah, sort of more stuff I do now. I mean, you talk about universe, you talk about a lot of things, and gut instinct, and I've sort of met my inner voice and went through a
Wow.
process of, I used to have what I call me, myself, and I. So me would have the conversation with you. Myself was my rock thrower. He was
Yeah.
the nasty one that had all the
Oh.
bad comments and knew exactly the right words to say to me.
Oh yeah.
And I was the good fella on the other shoulder going, listen, take it easy, take it easy. So
Mm.
even trying to have a conversation would be a very noisy event in my head.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, we eventually got rid of those and we basically found ourselves back to one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I now talk to people. I believe in universe. I get whispers, and
Mm.
it's just listen to my intuition.
Oh, I love that.
Before and I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's quite a big change, isn't it, from the sound of it? And I think that's something they say that's happened to me. And there's still be people listening, I mean, possibly not. It is, I'm very much about intuition and alignment, but there might be people listening thinking, I'm just not there. That's, almost waiting for their fire in the belly moment or their find your feel good, finding their feel good, finding that fire, finding that passion. I mean, you say about the gap, I love that, but what would be your first step? I mean, I always give these tips, but I'd love to know from your perspective, where do you even start to step across that gap? How do you start to fill that void?
It's quite a common question. People go, "What if I don't know what my fire in the belly is?" And I found, I mean, set on a 2-hour podcast, you generally will start to know, get a
Yeah.
pretty good steer. That's always a good start. But um, generally, I say to anyone is become obsessed and
Mm,
become obsessed of being, doing, and having more.
yeah.
Okay, and that's, you don't necessarily need to know that actually in 5 years' time I'm going to be the knitting champion of, UK and Ireland. Maybe it is. Maybe that's your thing. I don't know. And believe me, I met some people with some random hobbies, and it's amazing, where your passion can lie.
Yeah.
Um, but if you decide to do more, be more, have more, suddenly you might go, well, what books could I read? Could I do
Yeah.
5 more things every day? Could I, stretch myself? Could I do a Facebook Live? Could I make 5 new friends on LinkedIn? Could I start watching documentaries? Could I start watching less TV? Could I go
Mm,
out for a 5K walk? Could I do this? And just even getting yourself ready for it,
yeah.
and saying anyone who's, in good mental fitness and physical fitness, that's when you're actually putting yourself open to it. And then, looking at your habits, people sort of go, oh God, I must do that. Okay. So anytime you're using must, have to, things like that, they're not what I would call our love language,
Mm,
and I particularly, whenever I'm coaching going that, I would use the sort of the love language quite a lot.
mm.
A great one for me is kind of going, if money and time were no object, what would you be doing? God, I'd love to do this, but, so I
Is it
call
about
that the love but. It's like,
mm.
okay, so you love this, but what?
Mm.
Excuse,
The fear,
whatever.
the fear kicks in.
Yeah, and it's kind of going, yeah, God, and you can see they're sitting there with smiley ear to you. God, I'd love to do that. Yeah, but I messed that up at school, or we didn't have the money, or the dog died, or whatever it was, and you're like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
And so you
those
just
stories.
test it again and going, would you ever think of redoing that? Oh, I'd love to, but yeah, no, I'm too old now, or that time's passed or whatever. So it may or may not be there far in their belly, but it certainly gives you a very good inkling of where they're at. So you can start to see
Mm,
the responses and see, the things, but becoming obsessed, looking at your patterns. So if there's certain things you're
yeah.
just not doing, it's constantly on the to-do list, time to get rid of it, you know.
Yeah.
Winners quit. That's the one thing, I've learned out of this is quit doing the things that that's just not for you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I've learned through this process of dyslexia and ADHD. The best thing I did was go out and get a VA, systemize, automate, do whatever. There's times, believe me, I fall down, and there's a million things I don't do every day. But get used to giving it out and getting rid and passing it on to other people, really. So
Yeah.
finding what you're good at. Ask people around you too, and the likes of the Ikigai process, follow what are you good at, what are you passionate about,
Yeah.
because there's times, listen, go, oh, I'd love to do photography or whatever, but do you want to, make a living out of it? Not really. I just like to be able
Yeah.
to pick up the camera and go, and that's okay.
Yeah. As a
You
passion,
know,
as a side passion.
yeah. I mean, I'm very good at property investing. Partly is because I'm not emotionally involved. It's like going, I'm good at it.
Mm.
I can walk away from it, but that actually
Yeah.
makes me a very good investor because I don't
Mm.
get tied up. It's kind of going, is
Yeah.
it a good deal? Yes, no, no. Okay, bye. Is it
Yeah.
a good deal? Yes. Okay. Here's my offer. Is that work? Yeah. Okay, good. Let's go.
Yeah.
Whereas other people go, oh, I really like the house, and it's beside this, and it's up the road from such and such, and
They're
okay, great.
attached.
Yeah, and you're suddenly going, right, just add on 10% onto the price, and you're just
Mm.
about to lose all your profit because the profit's in the buying. And
Yeah.
so that's probably why the properties work well for me. But do I want to be buying property for the rest of my days? Well, yeah, I mean but it's a tool. Nobody wants property. People want what property gives you. So I've
Yeah.
huge property goals. But yeah, another thing is
Yeah.
just surround yourself with people who are creative. You want to find your feel good, go out and,
Get someone to
be,
support that.
yeah, listen, people who are passionate, and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Passion is like 90% of it is mindset, and you could be passionate about tea cozies, passionate about writing books, passionate about podcasts, whatever it is. And,
Yeah.
after a while, you'll soak up that energy and just be around that. So, don't know if
I
that
think
makes sense.
so.
I don't know if it tallies with what you think.
Yeah, definitely 100%. Yeah, I'm nodding along. And, something that came up there, we're chatting about, really what we're talking about, I guess, being open to kind of receive and from the universe or just being obsessed is pretty much what, we talk about growth mindset and fixed mindset. And that's there, isn't it? Um, it's being open, isn't it? Just to even, I suppose it's even if the stories are there and they are telling you one thing. I mean, how do we start with that? What do you have any tips for fighting off that? What did you call it? It was inner critic, but you called it something else. The
There's anything, I mean, I talk about the chimp. So it's your
Yeah,
Stephen,
love that.
Stephen Peters there, your chimp paradox,
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, you have all your inner voices, really,
yeah,
and that's what comes in, and that's the stuff that you've carried for years, and that's all the thoughts and feelings from neighbors, mothers, brothers,
mm.
dogs, cousins, whoever,
Yeah,
all the failures you had and all. And I think genuinely, I think that's something that does happen. You get to an age when you kind of going, I will go to the shop in my slippers and I don't really care.
I
It's
do not
also
care.
the time you sort of going, I don't care what great Auntie Bessie said about me behind my back.
Yeah,
And eventually you just go, "Do you know what? Just let it go. I'm big enough, I'm ugly enough now just to get on with my own life."
yeah,
And I do genuinely think that's, whether that's a midlife crisis, whether that's midlife opportunity, as I like to see it, it's just that eventually you go, do you know what? I'm just me. I
yeah.
am, just be yourself.
You get tired,
Um,
don't you? I think. I think as you get older, there's too much going on.
yeah. And the bigger the gap is between who you truly are, I mean, it's like, and I go back to the sort of the car analogy is just one I particularly like. And it's kind of going, if there's no friction, it's easy to move. It's a bit like, getting a rocket off a launch pad takes a huge amount of effort.
Yeah,
And then getting it up into the sky and then the second stage. But once you get into gravity, a very small bit of effort takes you a long, long way. And when you are your true self and you're just being real to the world and going, actually, do you know what? Before I answer any questions, someone said, do you want to do this? Just take a second. Just go,
mm.
do I want, and normally you might say yes to please them or whatever it is, do I want to do that? And you'll almost get a wee voice or something going, actually, do you know what? I actually don't.
Yeah,
I love you. I still like you, whatever else, but actually this is not for me right now, but thank you.
yeah. It's your
Uh,
life, isn't it? And
yeah.
that's a biggie that I've stepped into, and there's something I always do. I'm all about really at the far end of the scale, it's very brand strategy, but I pull people right back to the beginning. You have to be in alignment, you have to be true to yourself. And that's the start, isn't it? I guess it's just starting to tune into your wants and needs above anybody else's, but that's not easy, is it?
Um, yeah, I mean, if you're building on quicksand, listen, if the foundations aren't strong, And I generally know anytime that I find someone's fire in their belly, and it's, some people it's there, some people, it just depends. And you know yourself, you follow language patterns, you follow, they're sort of anything from eye contact right through to, body language, right through to, what are their results, etc.
Mm.
But when you find their fire in their belly, they suddenly are doing stuff that's almost foreign to them. They're Googling stuff at 2 a.m. They're sending you messages. They're chasing up stuff. They're reading books. They can suddenly, although they're not public speakers, suddenly they can kind of go, well, listen, if that helped me to get further down the road with this particular thing, I would stand up and talk about it.
Yeah.
And suddenly you kind of go, oh, that's interesting. So suddenly the need and the want is,
Is there?
it's so big in it, and you see this mission, this value, this gift almost that's coming outside of you. And I believe everyone has a gift. I believe everyone
Yeah.
has a fire in the belly. It's whether it's right for, smack bang in front of you, or whether it's sitting away off in the distance. And
Yeah, definitely.
and it's amazing. I mean, I interviewed a chap yesterday, and I mean, he went from 4 years ago standing on the edge of a bridge ready to jump off,
Oh, wow.
right through to today. And his passion, he's on a journey, but I mean, he is inspiring so many people around him, but it is a journey for him, and absolutely.
Yeah.
And
It's a
um
process.
it is a process, and it's you know I don't know, for me, for losing, there's no set path, and the number of people say, oh well, such and such did this and such did that, and it's kind of going,
Well.
and yeah, it's like, there's a young guy the other day, and he was like, what age are you? And oh, you've got yourself together, and you're 41, and you're this, and I'm 27, so I've got like 14 years, and it's kind of go, whoa, 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 whoa.
Mm.
Who's this? I'm not saying mine is the right path. In fact, I made so many mistakes. For God's sake, don't follow what I did.
Yeah.
I'll show you the shortcuts, but don't follow my path. It's like a drunk chicken, the way it sort of staggered up the road, my path. But
Yeah.
so it's that. But if you don't find, and this sometimes I do get a little bit, with people who set off down the road and prematurely, and they're sort of going, yeah, right, I'm going to do this, and this, and you very quickly you quiz them and go, what? Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Come
Well,
back. Come back.
yeah, it's just like, okay, I think it would be quite good, it's, because I really want the money, and you're like going,
Mm.
okay, okay, so we want it, and we need it, it's like going, right, okay, so this is where we need to be
Mm.
talking about. We need to look at, your language is wrong.
Yeah.
Where's your love language? I'd love to do this. I really, I want to be bigger, I want to be better, I want to
That
deliver
passion.
service, give back more, etc., and that's the stuff. If you do everything with service and gratitude, and with the expectation of giving more, then eventually you will start to bend the universe, and stuff will start happening for you.
Yeah.
you know
Definitely. Yeah. You've just got to be. Oh God, lost my train of thought. What was I saying then? I was going to ask something.
but I mean, you were saying it's you do have to be focused, and even if you don't know necessarily what you want, you have to even look at any sports person. What are their structures? It's like, that's great, clip on TV. It's like, get up and make your bed every day.
Yeah.
Someone who's passionate, someone who's driven, what do they do? What are their common traits? They make their bed, they get up early. Even 2 years ago, even a year ago, was I bouncing out of bed at 5 a.m. to get on a call at 5:15, have a goals call, have a reading group, do all this, and we're meeting like with 20 plus other nutters who are up at that time and doing that. But now the difference is because I want to. It's not
Yeah.
negotiable. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. That's. Do you know, I've tried that. I've tried the whole 5 a.m. club, and it's
mm,
not quite for me. So I suppose that comes back to what you were saying before, though. It's your own path, isn't it? You've got to find what works for you,
it's
not compare.
and I listen. Because some people, yeah, they're shouting on. I was up at 5 a.m. I don't listen. The group is there for anyone to join, and it's there. And it's kind of going, listen, we just do it. I don't
Yeah.
I don't shout out. We do it 7 days a week. It's there, it's on, on Saturday, Sundays, and people go, okay, I'm not gonna, and that's okay, and that's cool. I can tell you now, I am so clear on my path. I am so focused and so determined that I choose to get up at that time. You
Yeah.
know, do I sacrifice, yeah, watching TV? Well, it's kind of fine. I quit that anyway. So
Yeah.
so it's not so much that I'm kind of going, right, 5 a.m. Go, look, we've done this. It's kind of, I really want to. I genuinely want
Yeah.
to.
It's back to the want.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I left uni, I mean, way back in 2001, was 2001, 2002. It's like, burn the building. I'm done. I'm never going back. I'm not academic. It's not my thing at all.
Wow.
And then literally over the last probably 2-3 years, I've learned, for the first time in my life, I've learned how I learn. And that sounds really stupid, but
Ah.
for years and years and years, I was kind of, you know, just school was, I was that round peg, in a
Mm.
square hole. And Jay Shetty talks about it, it's like teaching a fish to climb a tree. That was me.
Yeah.
I sort of managed to shove my way through the system.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty. And I got through. Now looking back, and it's kind of going, you were dyslexic and you had ADHD. I get it now.
Wow.
Um,
So you just never knew that? Was that last year, did you say you were
yeah,
diagnosed?
yeah. So I mean, it literally was. It's kind of one of those running jokes. Both myself and my sister would be very similar, and it's kind of going, it's like don't put us through a spelling test, and
Mm.
half finished sentences, just some stuff's total blurb of something. But anyway, my niece then she's at the stage going through school where actually their new teacher was going, listen, I think she could do with getting tested.
Mm.
And then of
Oh.
course, so what happened with her, and it was an amazing process in terms of, so she got diagnosed, that was fine. They said, listen, we would recommend these glasses. And you kind of go, all right, okay. And
Mhm.
these not cheap glasses. And but they come in three shades. It's like blue, yellow, and green. So she was sort of prescribed the yellow ones as such.
Mm.
And you're sitting there and she starts reading. So she's kind of go, and the dog and the ball, blah, blah, blah. And he's kind of go, stick on your glasses there. The dog and
Mm.
the ball. Jane went to get the cat. Da, 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 da,
Ah.
da. And you're kind of going, okay, oh no, she's just wearing the glasses. She's just having a bit of fun here.
Yeah.
And you go out of the room and it's like she would read completely differently.
Wow.
Suddenly she's there because she went from top of the class to bottom of the class at the age of like 6, 7,
Oh.
when you start to read. So she couldn't read. So that's the thing. Stick the glasses on and she's shot back up to class again.
Wow.
But for me, I just said, right, listen, I'll tell you what, if I get myself diagnosed, then I know properly and for full. And then I know that we can watch out for my girls. And that's what it was. And I
Yeah.
kind of thought, right, I'll get the piece of paper. That's grand. So we know that it's followed me, funnily enough. And then
Yeah.
there we go. Of course, then once you know something, you can't unknow it. And suddenly I'm going, And the lady
Mm.
who diagnosed me there, she, did all the tests and she says, listen, try listening. Try listening
Mm.
instead of reading. It's not dyslexia. It's not that you can't read or write. So overall, I'm above average IQs, just I'm low on the reading and writing, but I'm very
Mm.
high on creativity, imagination, and one other thing, which I can never remember. But actually, so overall, my creativity is super high. But
Yeah.
it's not that I can't read and write. I just will never do it for leisure or pleasure. So as a result, you're
Wow.
saying, give me like my walls, I use the static whiteboard sheets and I go crazy.
Yeah.
Ask me to, read one page on my own without other people in the group. And yeah, I'll have made 3 cups of tea and cut the grass.
Yeah.
It's just
It's not for
doesn't
you.
come to me. So
Yeah,
but
well, that's amazing because that just shows as well. We're on this path. Again, whichever stage people are listening, whichever part they're at, whichever stage they are at. But there is going to be things like that that come up, and I think we do sort of question our mindset, our abilities. But there's going to be things that genuinely hold you back, and that's proof that you don't need to be all singing, all dancing. You don't have to be academic. You just literally have to follow your path and listen to your intuition, don't you?
yeah, it's learn your weaknesses. As soon as you learn
Yeah,
your weakness, because your weakness can be your strength. And believe me, as soon as I discovered there that, I'm not going to read a book while I can listen. So the first year I went
yeah,
through from reading literally like I read, I think, one book in about 5 years, and that's probably being generous to myself.
yeah.
So the first year I then listened to 70 audiobooks,
Wow.
and I loved it, and I was soaking them up and like away with, I'd almost go and I offer to take people to the airport, which is like an hour and a half drive, just so I could
Just to listen.
get to listen.
Yeah.
And then, again, you learn about that and suddenly it's going, well, I actually am far better listening at one time speed. It's a bit too slow for me.
Mm.
And my mind starts to wander and, look at that and look at this and all the rest.
Speed it up.
2 times speed and it's like, yeah, I'm kind of losing it. It's not, but take it to 1.5 times speed and it's like a perfect speed for me.
Perfect.
And suddenly I'm like, I'm just, literally going through the books. I'll listen to when I go to bed, I'll be listening to meditation. I'll listen to a book overnight,
Love
because
it.
I know my conscious mind, my subconscious mind, and my superconscious mind is there just soaking it up,
Yeah.
So it's kind of going, okay, I want to do more in the day. How do I do that? And yourself with kids, that life's busy, so you kind of going, okay. So start off and say, well, I'll get up at 6. we'll
Mm.
do that, you know, and we had different groups, and you know, there's basically sort of tribes we have going on. And eventually, do you know what, I need, you know, if I was to take like get an extra half hour a day,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be great? And I could do this. So great, let's get up at 5:30. And then, oh, you
Wow.
know, actually I could do another half hour, you know. So I was kind of going, right, okay, you know, so let's get up at 5, and I want to, and it's there, and you know, it's why not? You know, we
This is
now
going to
do.
turn into 3 a.m. club.
And it's like it is. I mean, because ego is a big topic for me, but I sort of
Mm.
go, you know, is this an ego thing? Or, you know,
Mm.
and it's like I ask people, you know, why, you know, when you post on social media, do you post for the response, or are you posting because you think it's useful? And this is
Mm.
where because we all need ego, and I see my ego as a chimp, but I dress my chimp up in a bikini and badly applied makeup.
I
So
love that.
that's kind of, and it's a great, there's a
Good
whole
visual.
method. Yeah, it's a method
Yeah.
behind it, because then that kind of stops you, especially if you're in a, you know, in a black rage, realizing that actually your ego is a separate animal in your head. It's You're not one
Mm.
and the same. So
Yeah.
firstly, by disassociating from it and saying, right, well, why is my chimp annoyed? Okay, so
Yeah.
suddenly it could be, you know, it could be jealousy, it could be anxiety, it could be anything else. So suddenly, by sort of going, why is my chimp annoyed? So that means it's outside. It's not you that's annoyed, it's your
Mm.
chimp. You can
Yeah.
stand back from it and kind of going, you kind of look a bit, I know you're a bit annoyed right now, but you look a bit silly in that bikini and that makeup. So can we just have a wee laugh at that first? And you kind of, okay, right,
Yeah.
okay. And that diffuses and it goes through. And suddenly you're going, okay, what's happening here? It's going, someone just did something to me. And do you know
How did
what? I
it
was
triggered?
jealous. I was
Mm.
jealous. You know, I didn't do it. Or the old thing is going, you know, you're pointing the finger and they did this and they did that. And all it's kind of going, okay, what is it about them that you don't like about yourself?
Mm. Yeah.
You know, and you
Wow.
suddenly go, well, they didn't do that properly. They should have done it like this, that, and the other. And it's like, and how's that working for you?
Mm.
Well, I haven't done it yet. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
that's okay. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of have a mantra: you've no right to an opinion until you try something. You know, opinions are like backsides. We all have one. Doesn't mean you should use it. You
Yeah.
know, and that's, you know,
Love that.
so many times I love it now. And even that's what's happened the last couple of years. Is kind of going. I've gone to everything from acupuncture through to, you know, hypnotherapy to I'll pretty much try anything. It's kind of going, you know, there's certain things I'm kind of going, yeah, it's not for me. Colonic irrigation, oh, you name it. It's kind of going, do you know what? But it
Give it
makes
a
a great
go.
story. It's like, yeah, well, I tried it. Okay,
Yeah.
that was for me or that wasn't for me or whatever. And but rather than just going, you know, Carly, did you try that? What did you think? And then you
Mm.
had a great experience or a horrible experience or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but it is that sort of, it's like that Bruce Lee thing is saying, or there's a completely other expression, you know, and they talk about, you know, good news, bad news, who knows? You know, you
Mm.
just treat it and going, okay, something has happened. Is it good? Is it bad? Who knows? You know, it's
Yeah.
I can choose, my chimp can choose to get annoyed at it for whatever reason, but actually it's just happened.
Yeah.
Um, you
It's
know,
always
so
our response, isn't it? That's the thing, you know,
yeah.
but it all comes back to it. It's how we choose to respond. And yeah, I think I might start dressing my chimp up in a bikini and lipstick. That's you set that wheel in motion now.
I know it's kind of, it's amazing. So first of all, recognizing it's a chimp, and then second thing is actually, yeah, just start to sit in there, go, seriously, my
Yeah.
chimp's in drag, and it's like going, well, what are you doing? You know, it's like let's just have a wee moment here and laugh and go, listen, okay,
Yeah, love
excuse me,
it.
I'm not I'm perfectly imperfect,
Love it.
and okay, I reacted to that. Okay, let's look at this. Let's just take a wee moment here, and you know, what part of that is it? You know, so
Wi-
you go through
Yeah.
that process and you realize that everything, you know, the best response you can give anyone is saying is, I don't know. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, how do you feel about that? I don't know.
And
Let's
then
try.
explore,
Yeah,
explore,
yeah, yeah.
be
Because
curious.
be
Yeah.
curious, be wonderfully curious, you know, and assume everyone means well until they treat you otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, it's because, like, to be honest, Carly, like 4 years ago, I was kind of going, what book? You want me to read what? You know, I was an engineer, you know, sort of male dominated industries, things like that. And I was always slightly open minded, but, you know, compared to where I am now, it's sort of going, what did you drink? You know, and
Yeah.
I've been to Tony Robbins, I've sat with Grant Cardone, we've, you know,
Wow.
done some amazing stuff, but you just keep saying yes. And it's kind of going, that was cool. I enjoyed that. And speak to such and talk to such and such. And it's, but even if you don't find your passion, because even now, I mean, I know Fire in the Belly, it's going to be, you know, it's something that's huge and it will be with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Where it's going to go, I don't know exactly, but it's fun. You know, it's kind of it's like the
Go with
fun
it.
bus. Yeah, it's like, why not? You
Yeah,
know, it's sit in the bus and keep driving, and if it feels right, then let's go with it and see what happens. You know, so it's a
exactly.
beautiful way to be.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, that is the perfect place to stop it there. I think it is just go with what feels good. I'm going to bring it back to find your feel good. It is, isn't it? Just listen to that intuition. Is there any sort of last minute tips you would give on that? Anything that is just jumping out of the top tip of how to access the fire in your belly?
I think the first thing is listen. We all have it. I genuinely believe your heart is beating and there's breath in your lungs, you have fire in the belly. Whether you're having the worst day or the best day of your life. So knowing that actually talk about acres of diamond, it's already within you.
Yeah.
So the seed of possibility and opportunities there. So it's questions, what are you going to do about it? You know, and start off small, baby steps. Read a
Yeah.
page, reach out to someone, do something, take action every day. You know, 1% change a day is a 3,800% change a year. Just keep
Yeah.
compounding it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it.
Keep searching.
Why
Yeah.
not? Have fun
Keep
doing it
going.
too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, thank you so much. That has been such a great chat. And I am off to dress my inner chimp in drag, I think. I think that's what I'm.
That's what it's all about. Thank you so much for
It
having me.
is.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'll drop all your links in the show notes. So please do go and check Fire in the Belly and Pete's and your book club and everything out. I'll pop it all below. And yeah, I'm sure that's been so inspiring to so many. Oh, I'll start that again. Yeah, I'm sure that's helped so many people listening to just start to, yeah, explore.
So be mighty, be you.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.